Right. Hi guys. Welcome to another Indie MBA event. This is basically a series of conversations where we get experts from like solopreneur, creator, maker, indie hacker experts, and ask them for their wisdom, ask questions, learn from them, from their work and from their experience. And today we have Jakob Greenfeld. Welcome, Jakob. Jakob has been a serial maker, a big inspiration for me and so many others that I know to get started on their indie hacking journey. He makes like a new project every month almost. Has been doing it for a while. He's one like product hunts maker of the year, and he's been launching so many projects and writing so well, right? The best part is that Jacob's writing forces you to think hard. I've often been in communities and chats where Jacob's essays have been shared around, and people have had discussions around them, that this is such an interesting idea, or something that nobody could have thought. Jacob's writing forces you to think, which is very powerful. Right. So again, I'll stop blabbering. Welcome, Jacob. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for taking your time. Right.
Yeah,
how are
thanks. I think you're much too generous, right? Thanks for the introduction. I really appreciate you organizing this. Should be fun.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'll get started. I'll get started with the questions, right? Like we'll just do like light questions. But the first thing that comes to mind is that you have a PhD in physics, and then like you got into entrepreneurship. Like, how does that work? Right? I would imagine a PhD in physics go on to like teach university or stuff like that. Right? How did you get into entrepreneurship, and where did it start?
Yeah, I mean these are the options, right? When you're doing PhD in physics, that standard options are staying in academia, doing teaching, trying to secure a permanent position, or of course you can try get a good job. What most of my peers were doing is just joining McKinsey, going to some finance company, going to SAP software development, right? These kind of things. Right. And I mean, I looked at all the options. I went to the recruiting events, talked to the people, and I mean, there are very interesting, highly motivated people there, but it simply wasn't my tribe, right? And this is what's key for me. And it was obvious to me that I had zero chance of competing or finding any kind of success or happiness there, because I wasn't enjoying like the game they are playing in academia, but also like in this career world. So yeah, thanks to the internet, right? This is the kind of the magical thing. I was able to see that there is a third option. Guys like Peter Levels just launching their own little projects and finding success and just earning money, earning their income independently. And I came up with the idea I should try that at least for a year. And then I really did the classic 12 projects and 12-month thing and gave myself the time, right? After 12 months, I'm going to evaluate. Is this working for me? Am I making enough money? Am I happy? And turned out, yes, I'm still going strong and never regretted that decision. But that was kind of the framework how I made the transition. I gave myself basically a year. It was an experiment. I mean, after a year, it would be very easy to go back into the career world. You could argue it's kind of a sabbatical or something. Yes. Now, probably it would be harder, but I have no intention, right? I have no intention going back.
Awesome. And we're talking about the 12 startups in 12 months. So can you talk about the Bootstrap Mba? Like I've read your essay around bootstrapping yourself to an MBA. Why not? So the second question naturally is that if you want to do business, why not do like a traditional MBA and a traditional business from a B school, get a nice degree and probably get a job there or do your own business after that? Why did you like choose to do a bootstrap? What is a bootstrap MBA, and like why did you choose to do it? Right.
Yeah, Bootstrap Mba is the catchy name I came up with, my learning experiment, right? And I mean, doing 12 projects in 12 months was one part of it, but I also wanted to have a structured curriculum for myself, really just learning the different parts that I considered at the time were important for finding success in entrepreneurship, right? And like coming up with good ideas. So I gave myself homework assignments, like writing down 10 ideas every day, and I'm still doing it, right? Or publishing tweets every day just to get my name, my face, my ideas out there. And reading certain books. These were really like the main components, right? Launching projects, doing these homework assignments, and then learning. And I mean, the second part of the question, why not do something more traditional, is pretty easy to answer for me, because I spent so much time in academia, right? I spent 10 years, the past decade, doing nothing else. I spent it at universities, and I knew pretty well how it worked, and that it wouldn't work for me. I think it's outdated in my opinion, and you learn so much faster if you're doing it on your own, in my opinion, because there's so much bullshit going on that you could avoid, but you can't if you're like in this structured environment.
That's true. So you're doing this 12 projects in 12 months challenge, and you're writing tweets every day, and do you have like how did you decide the books that you wanted to read, or why did you choose Twitter for that matter, right? Why did you not think of like going to Instagram or LinkedIn or like making a niche site or any other platform? Like, why did you choose Twitter particularly to do this challenge and talk about it openly? And how did you decide which books you want to read and which not to read? There's like book recommendations thrown around all the time. And if we read every book that has ever been recommended to us, then we'll never stop reading and not do anything. So how do you curate that, right?
I guess this all boils down to the people I look up to. Like I said, Peter Levels, for example, the people I was trying to learn from were just hanging out on Twitter. And I mean, if you're interested in drop shipping or whatever, then probably YouTube or Instagram is your platform. This is where you can connect with the people that care about this stuff more. But for the indie maker community is pretty much centered on Twitter. This is the place to be. So easy choice. And in terms of book choices, I mean, you're right. So many books, but also so much fluff. It's so hard to find good stuff, in my opinion. And I don't know. I definitely didn't pick the right books in the beginning. Hard, but that's the magic of it. If you're doing it yourself, you can just stop reading, right? If you're at university and the professor says this year, this is a textbook and it's shit, you're screwed. But if you're just learning independently, you read the first chapter and it's just fluff, right? And you're not getting anything actionable out of it, then just move on.
Right. Totally agree, and that very similarly, that's how I got pulled into the Twitter indie maker community as well. First, I looked up to like people like Peter Levels or yourself, or Arvid Kahl, and John from Bannerware. Right, these guys were doing like building like solo projects, and my problem with that was that once you enter a community like that, and I've seen this, I've tried my hand at dropshipping as well a couple of years ago, and I was there in that community as well. And my problem became that when you enter a community, and this was like a discussion on Indie Hackers a few weeks ago probably, that you start serving that community itself, like they become your audience, that they become your customers. Is there like a Ponzi scheme going on that most of us don't realize? Or is it like it is worth it as long as it's solving someone's problem, it's providing value, it's okay? Right? What's your take on that? How do you think about it?
Juicy topic. Yeah, I like it. No, I mean, to some extent, there's definitely an element of truth in that, and it's kind of very dangerous. Because the truth is that selling to fellow indie makers is not smart. Right, because fellow indie makers are not willing to spend money, and they really have to look after their expenses. They are always paying for everything from their own pockets, right? So, but yeah, you're coming up with problems from the stuff you see in your everyday life. And if you're hanging out on Twitter all day and just interacting with fellow indie makers and you're just doing the whole indie maker thing, then the only problems you will be able to come up with are just that. And I mean, there are probably elements where it can work very well, right? If you can start in this niche and then you start discovering, okay, yes, this is an indie maker problem, a problem indie makers have, but it's also a problem a larger audience, a larger group, a larger market has, right? And then it can work pretty well, I think. But of course, if it's just laser focused on indie makers and that's your only goal, you're probably screwed. It probably will not work.
Yes. No, that's true, because like they don't have money to pay, right? First of all, that's like one of the first matrix that you should check when you're going out and targeting a community, that can these people pay enough money to sustain a business. And that's how you also see a lot of failed projects which are focused on indie makers. To counter to that opinion, from what I have seen is that this happens in every community. So I've seen this in the marketing community as well. So the marketers will try to market their products to other marketers or new and incoming marketers. This is not something new. Like, this happens in every community, and this is a good thing, because these people are, since being part of the community, they know the real problems of the community. Right, they know, they have been there, they have done it, right? So it's not, that's how, like, I try to reconcile it in my head, that this is not there's nothing wrong in this. There's definitely value in it. Right. So my next question then comes in. Since we're talking about a community and we're talking about Twitter, you have a very interesting essay that said, like, don't build an audience, build a business, right? Where does that come from? And like, what's your problem with building an audience, man? Come on. What's wrong in it?
Yeah, I guess, of course, like it's not a black and white issue, of course, but you need to frame it as one to get clicks in your headline. This is just the way the world works. But the basic idea is, this is, I think, just one of the other big traps for indie makers. One is just building stuff for fellow indie makers, which has no use outside our little world. And the second one is just focusing on building an audience for the sake of building an audience, right? And I mean, obviously, having an audience can be amazing. If you have a good product, then building an audience around it can be an amazing channel. But I've seen, and I still see, lots of people getting trapped in this hamster wheel of just churning out content for the sake of churning out content. There's no original insight whatsoever, and they just copy whatever and kind of seeing some success and getting some likes here and there. But these threads that are almost a meme, like 10 websites that feel illegal to know, whatever. But I mean, yeah, you can build an audience that way, but they most likely won't care about you and what you do, really. So not every audience is made the same way and has the same value, right? So the one example I give in the essay is actually, let's say you have like 1,000 followers, but it's all like I don't know, poor people, let's say poor people, right? Or I have an account with 10 followers and it's Paul Graham, Elon Musk, and Peter Thiel, whatever, right? Would you swap accounts with me, right? Obviously. And so yeah, kind of just focusing on sharing earned insights and playing the long game. It might take longer to build a following, build an audience, but then actually it's worth something compared to building like taking steroids or whatever you want by building these and by doing these cheap threads. And I guess the other more important thing is actually focusing on having something to sell, on launching offers, building a product before you focus on getting attention. Because I mean, this is like what I said, what I meant with that it's a trap, right? If you can get trapped. And I have a friend actually who he has 130,000 followers now on Twitter, makes $0 per month. So and he's still trying to figure out what he's actually gonna do with like the big audience he built now. And it's simply not true that once you build an audience, like a product will magically appear, especially if it's not an audience built around a specific problem, right? Obviously, if you position yourself as the cold email wizard from day one and you're laser focused on that, and then you can spin it up, cool. But most people don't do that. They are just all over the place and build an audience just for the sake of it. And then it's not going to work. The sun is smashing me. I'm looking weird. Anyway.
Yes. You're lighting. Right. So cold email wizard. Such a fascinating story. Right. Picked a niche, and actually, I watched one of his videos, and he applied all of his earned insights into this one Twitter handle. He had been working as like a digital marketing expert, then an Instagram expert, and then a cold email expert. And then he learned all of that and applied into like one Twitter handle and one Gumroad page, and that's where it became okay. Jacob just So I think when we fail, this is where we fail, that we don't know a solid enough problem worth solving. Right? People, because when we start out, we're mostly generalists. And we don't know a niche that you can target. Once we know a niche, we can probably double down on it. The whole build an audience thing comes in because we look at somebody like Peter Levels, and he said that his success is largely due to his large audience, right? So it becomes very obvious that, okay, then I should also build an audience. Right. What do you think of that? One of my friends has like told me off the record that like Peter Levels is not a founder, he's an influencer. Right. He's just an influencer who managed to like build a product around his audience. Other influencers end up just promoting other people's products, but Peter Levels managed to monetize his audience quite well. What do you think of that, that idea?
True. I mean, if you look at it, he did the classic influencer thing, right? Build a big following around a certain topic, and then sell access to a paid community, and maybe a job board, right? This is what like so many people are doing. It's a very standard playbook, and I totally agree, right? It's not really like I don't know. Yeah, it's more like, again, it's a spectrum, right? You have like nowadays a spectrum between hardcore influencers and hardcore startup founders, if you want, who just focus on product and have zero social presence, and influencers who are all social presence and zero products of their own. And then, of course, you have everything in between. And he's definitely like, somewhere in between, leaning to the influencer side, I actually would say.
So single PHP file, right? We made an entire like $1 million business of a single file. But I think what works with him is that his community was built very, very early on, like back in 2013, 2014, and he was actually digital nomading around the world back then, and it was like he was able to like bring together a community around himself rather than go in a community probably and then like become a face inside it, or try to become a face inside it. The thing is that playbook is, and you have an essay on this, like the indie maker playbook is dead. Right, where you build a huge audience and then try to sell to that audience. Like you said that we should start like going with promoted advertising, test out our products with ads, and try to reach our audience through paid channels instead of just relying on organic channels. This is another one of those things that Peter Levels has done well, that he has never had to pay for an ad ever, right? And like he has never had to do a sales call ever. And I'm like, you'll never be able to build a business if you don't do those things. What's your take on like going organic versus going paid? And there are many people who don't, who cannot like afford paid ads as well. In their case, probably building an audience can help or should help.
Yeah, I think the main observation, the main idea I was trying to get at in the essay you mentioned, is that if you just try to do what Peter did, or also other people did at the time, it simply won't work anymore because it has been overdone. So, you know, at each iteration with each cohort that tries to do the same thing, it will work not less well, right? And you will only get like a fraction of the results the previous generation saw. So you gotta start to look for something new instead of trying to do the same thing they did. And like the perfect example is, I mean, the one hack everyone used at the time is just exploiting Product Hunt for free traffic, right? They were launching every single month their product, and simply because they added a new feature. Right, Peter added a few new filters to Nomad List, and it was Nomad List 7.0, and he launched it again. And obviously, at some point, Product Hunt no longer allowed this. It's now, I don't know, 6 months or something that have to be in between. And also then, there are much stronger limitations on these kind of things, but also stuff like building in public, sharing your numbers is no longer as catchy as it was, right? And lots of people have realized that it works. Lots of people are doing it, and now like the same amount of attention gets split between a lot of people. And the second part of the story is obviously also that it's not just like organic attention on Product Hunt and Twitter, which is now harder to get at scale, but also like PR, right? Because if you're one of the first doing it, you will actually get picked up by magazines and whatever major publications, which worked for like these first movers. And this obviously helps a lot in terms of SEO, which is like the main channel. Yes, great, right? If you can make this work, if you can get strong backlinks, if you can build a large social presence, then obviously no need to pay money for ads, but most can't, right? Most people can't.
Exactly.
It's not a win everyone can win, but I mean, entrepreneurship is a game everyone can win, right? You just have to find something that works for you. And it's not as hard as it seems, honestly, I think. It's just very easy to get fooled by seeing like these kind of stories, because obviously they are overrepresented because they have large reach, and it's such an attractive story. I never paid for ads, and everyone is clapping because it's cool. It's cool, but the truth is like probably 99% of all entrepreneurs pay for ads for good reasons, because they work. And you don't have, right, you can focus on your product, your value proposition, talking to customers, doing the truly entrepreneurial stuff instead of trying to win the social game, which is kind of like a different game, right? It's the influencer game. And you can also just pay someone for a shout out instead of having to build an audience yourself. And it's not as expensive as you would expect it to be, right? And yeah, this is kind of my take and something I learned. I mean, I'm still active on Twitter, obviously. So, but at the same time, I mean, you very rarely see me sell. I mean, yesterday was the exception where I actually announced something. I'm selling something, but I'm so bad at this. I never do it still. I just still try to get better at it, but at the same time, I don't really care, because it's actually not a major driver for me at this point.
Right. Which brings me to the question, like, what is the major driver for you at this point? Are you like getting good sales via ads or via your newsletter? You have like a fantastic, you have 2 newsletters, I think, at this point. You also have like a SaaS product under the radar, which watches trends and businesses. So if it's not happening off Twitter, then where are you getting sales, and how can we learn those tricks as well?
Yeah, I'm actually like doing for every single product different. I'm exploring different channels, right? I have just my list of channels you can explore, and you never know what works. I still have zero idea in the beginning, so just like the gut feeling. Okay, for this product, I'm testing Google Ads, and I have a product where Google Ads are working amazingly well. And if you can figure this out, I mean, it's so much easier than trying to win like the attention game, because if you can figure out a way to make $1.20 for every dollar you spend, it's so easy, right? You just keep spending more money and it keeps growing. It's amazing. But I mean, also I see success with newsletter ads for different products. Obviously Reddit ads also work well for me, but scale is still kind of limited. I'm trying to figure it out. But yeah.
I tried Twitter ads last month and they bombed so badly. And then this month I'm trying Reddit ads, and let's see how that goes. But I agree. Like, we have to do paid ads and promote our stuff through paid channels, because it makes sense to that's how we scale. Like, we cannot keep creating content to sell our stuff all the time. So yeah, that's important. And you spoke, like, you mentioned very interesting, that every product will have a different channel, right? And which brings me to like another one of your fantastic essays, like focus on channel offer fit instead of product market fit. Right, we see founders like obsess over product market fit, but like, what is the idea of a channel offer fit, and how is it different from a product market fit, and how can we like apply that, right?
Yeah, during my Bootstrap Mba experiment, this is one of the things I came across again and again, because everyone is talking about it, product market fit. But what I then realized, that it's really a concept that's primarily interesting for VCs, in my opinion, like to evaluate investment opportunities. And as a founder, it's not really as interesting, because obviously, yes, it's amazing if you have it, right? If you have more demand than you can keep up with, it's finally doesn't feel any longer like you have to push a boulder up a hill. But it offers like no concrete roadmap how you get there. I mean, what does it mean, right? Product is very vague, the word. What does it mean? What does working on product actually mean? What does market actually mean? It's very, very vague in my opinion. And I simply, it's not actionable. So what I ended up with is like these two key puzzle pieces in my mind. And it's now how I think about new projects, right? What's the channel? What's the offer? These are the exactly. These are the two puzzle pieces. You need to find like a combination that works, and then you win. And like I said, you make a list of different channels to explore with. No one knows in advance, right? It's always just gut feeling, and then you just like test different channels, and at the same time you can like tweak to offer. And I'm still doing it a lot. Like, it's not just pricing, but also what features you include, what guarantees, like how fast you deliver stuff. All these variables can be very important, and it's still crazy to me, and it's so counterintuitive, and always depends on the niche. I mean, sometimes my sales completely dropped when I lowered my prices, right? It's so weird sometimes. It's the stuff you would never expect, but obviously if you think about it, oh yeah, it makes sense. It's kind of, if it's too cheap, people are skeptical if this can be really good, if it's just $27 or something. But then if it's $90, okay, this gotta be solid. So you learn these things, and if you get one of these variables wrong, it's not going to work. So but yeah, I like thinking about it in this systematic way. And if you just have like the phrase in mind, like channel offer fit, I know what to work on. Whereas like product market fit, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a similar idea, obviously, but it's not as actionable.
Yes, makes sense. And I love the mental model of channels and offers. I think JK Molina owns that domain, channelsandoffers.com, and like offer and channels, something like that. And he has really figured it out for himself. for himself as well as for his for Tweet Hunter, where their channels and offers are working very well. And this also helps us like position our product really well. When we know that we're targeting like one channel, we can think of that what will attract the people who are coming from this channel, and way more actionable way to think about product market fit, I think. Right. So Jill has a very interesting question. You spend a lot of time on marketing and sales. Is that because you enjoy it, or would you rather be able to spend more time making stuff? Yeah, this is what we all struggle with, right? Should we build stuff, or we all want to just keep building stuff? But if we don't do marketing and sales, then how will it happen? What do you enjoy doing more?
I am really envious of everyone who enjoys doing sales. I don't. Like, I would love I love tinkering, right? I love building. It's like doing Legos at some point, right? I love playing with Legos back in the days. I love coding now, putting landing pages together, whatever. This is pure fun for me. But no, I mean, the framework I now settled on is that I really try to start every single day, like the time till lunch, I try to do nothing but selling, right? And again, this is kind of a vague phrase, and it's really hard. But I mean, there are a lot of things that fit under this umbrella. For example, right, just sending emails, right, answering to emails. This is selling for me. Like actually working on my offers, right, on my landing page, just finding new ways to promote them, like all the stuff that we most people know they should be doing but aren't, right? And it's like eat a frog in the morning kind of thing for me. And I find that if I don't do it in the morning, I probably won't do it because I get caught in some rabbit hole. I love writing, I love coding, so if I start doing it, I won't stop. So, but I also find it very good for actually staying focused, because it's very easy to just build stuff for the sake of it. Again, like building an audience, right? You can also build stuff just for the sake of it. But if you actually, I find that when I actually start my day with selling, like actually, okay, someone is asking about my product, I'm gonna pitch something to someone, then my mind starts working differently, because I actually remember, okay, yeah, this is what it's actually about, right? Real people care about the value I provide and are willing to pay for it. And it's amazing. It then also helps me with the rest of the day, where I'm allowing myself to build a little, because I'm already primed to focus on more important stuff.
Yes. No, that exactly. That's so important that we get into that sales mindset, and I'm going to try this, that before lunch do only selling and not writing or making or anything else, because I've been very guilty of that I'd like to procrastinate on selling as much as possible. Right. So like Uday has an interesting question. What are the first thing that you think when you started these projects? What are you thinking now when you have achieved so much success? From your Bootstrap Mba days, or when you were just starting out, what have been like the biggest learnings so far for you? Right? How did you think about business back then, and how do you think about it now?
I think you actually put it better than me. Is like put more buy buttons on the internet, right? Because exactly what I just said in the beginning, I made the classic mistake, which is just launching these little fun projects, which are kind of useful, but obviously have zero monetization potential. And it's really just procrastination, right? Same with content, right? If you are like, it's so much more rewarding if you actually have something to sell. And then you're doing like, okay, I'm now posting tweets, but I know that if I'm posting tweets, I'm actually making sales. It's so much more rewarding that when I'm just posting tweets for the sake of it. And obviously you can post like, you can launch like side projects, but only if you actually have something to sell, right? If it's actually part of a funnel that feeds into a paid product. So this is really like the most important lesson. And I think a lot of people do it the wrong way around, right? They start with a free project, but this is like the easy part and should come later. Like you can always launch these fun ideas later just to get attention, but then direct it in productive ways. And if you launch these products when you don't really have anything to sell related to it, it's just wasted in a way. And I've done it a lot of times, and then looking back, it's just wasted energy and time, not worth it.
Yeah, totally. Also, or many people, like when they start out, they like to do like learning projects. Like they will just build this tool to learn, right? To learn a new tech stack, or to learn a new skill or something like, and they never think of monetization. They never think of the business model, and then they just fail and they give up. Right. So Jill, to Jill's point, don't give away freebies. Yes, I think I would like to say that, right. I've been studying about funnels a lot this year, and I understand the value of like a value ladder, and I'm a big fan of Russell Brunson now. Before this year, I thought like he was a very salesy guy, and I should probably not read his books, but I read .com Secrets, then I read Traffic Secrets, and I read Expert Secrets, and I'm like, yeah, I think this guy knows what he's doing. Right, funnels are important, and yes, you should do free products which have like paid backends if you want to, even if it's a side project. If it should funnel down into a paid product, I think. If not today, then there should be a vision that there will be a paid product in the future. Right, Jacob? What would you say?
Yeah, Russell Brunson is the real deal. I agree. Like,
yes.
I mean, there is so much fluff. There's so much fluff and so much stuff you should ignore. But this is something which is really worth the time. Totally agree. And I mean, a fun recommendation, because I also discovered it not too long ago, is he has like this old podcast which was called Marketing in Your Car or something, and it's absolutely amazing.
Oh, really?
It's really, really worth it. And because it's really just him talking, it's not like interviews or some production stuff, or he's not selling anything. It's really just him talking in the car and sharing like the lesson you learned that day or something cool that happened. So one of my favorites now.
Oh, awesome. I'm going to go back and listen. I listened to his latest and it became like an interview show. So I didn't realize that his old one will have more value. I'll go back and listen. Nice. Thank you. Yes, of course, his YouTube videos are amazing as well. So like we'll take like one of the audience questions that came in before during the onboarding, during the submission. How do you get like somebody there are people who are just starting out, who are doing their full-time jobs or just finishing their education. How do you get your first significant revenue online? Right? Knowing what you know now after doing so many experiments, what advice will you give to somebody, and they don't know anything? They don't know what a niche is. They don't know what an audience is. They don't know how. They just know a tech stack probably, or they love to write or something like that. Then how should they go about going on a journey of making your first dollar is easy, but significant revenue is harder, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the $1 million question, right? And I honestly think I got it completely wrong. I did really stupid stuff, and probably the one thing I would do differently is do a lot more manually. Like, obviously, if you can build a SaaS, if you can build something that just prints money while you sleep, amazing. Yes. But this is like expert mode, right? This is really hard. And some people are just lucky, right? They just code something and put it online and it just works. It just starts printing money and the curve goes up. But this is so rare. It's so much rarer than people realize, because again, this is what you see on social media because it's a sexy story and it's very attractive, but it's not the reality. The most people, for most people, again, it's even most entrepreneurial people, right? There is a very direct correlation between the time you spend, the effort you spend, and the money you earn, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, especially if you start, like it's perfectly okay, right, to trade money for time, and it's hard enough to do it independently. Right? It's not about getting a job, but actually learning how to provide value and be compensated for it. So I try to do it the wrong way around, I would say, like trying to start with automated, very complex solutions that became very complex very quickly. And if you don't really understand what people want, you're wasting so much time building these elaborate automations. And it actually doesn't matter. It doesn't move the needle at all. And so really learning what is the value I can provide? What are people willing to pay for? This is hard enough, right? And like let's really just do things manually in the beginning. And yes, maybe that means selling a service, or what I'm kind of doing is, again, like spectrum, right? There's a whole spectrum of things you can try between like a service and a SaaS. Right? It's not like black and white, but for example, tweets on demand, my new thing, it's like 80% automated. But actually for me to turn this into a SaaS, into like a fully automated solution, would be so much work, right? And so I'm not willing to do it until I really understand what is the value here, what works best. And if you're doing things manually, you can fix like all the errors, all the bugs just on the fly, right? People never interact with the code. I'm just executing the code manually, and I look at the output, and before I send it to people, I look over it, and you can move and iterate so much faster if you're doing this, compared if I would build now like a user interface and people can just use it themselves. It would be crazy, right? Just fixing all these bugs. So a long-winded answer, but that's kind of it, right? Think about it spectrum, and don't be afraid to start at that part. And also, I mean, like the whole idea maze idea is really powerful if you replace the word idea maybe with outcome, right? What is an outcome people care about, and then don't get stuck on one way to provide that or help people get that outcome. Just experiment, right? If there's an outcome you're passionate about because it's something you care about yourself, then just keep iterating, like I did, like with coming up with content without getting lost in the content treadmill. And I'm just trying different solutions until you find something that actually works. And I mean, there are many examples where I'm still kind of stuck, right? I know kind of the outcome, but I don't know how to actually provide it, and that's fine, right? But just to keep iterating and learning every time you're talking to someone who's interested in that outcome, you learn a lot, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I feel like that is like the third element of the channel offer fit, where like you have a channel, you have a solid offer, but the delivery aspect of it, that how will you deliver on the offer, that is what like you have to optimize. That how can you deliver it at profit, right? That so it doesn't cost you money, doesn't cost you too much time to deliver that offer from the people who are coming from that channel.
Yeah, but I guess like this is the part where I say you shouldn't care about, right? It's a black box.
In the beginning, of course.
It's a black box, and no one cares, right? Like your code can be ugly. Like people don't care what actually is going on inside the black box as long as the outcome is the right one.
Right, of course. Yeah, makes sense. So Nikhil has a very interesting question, and which is related to another question that I wanted to ask is, what all research do you do before starting a project? And also this relates to the whole, how do you come up with business ideas? Like, how do you come up with product ideas? I know you track trends, you track Reddit trends, you track Google trends. How do you do that? You've made under the radar just to do that, right? You're solving your own problem and you made a tool out of it. Right? How do you do research, and how do you find ideas and tracking trends and signals?
Yeah, I think this is the answer right here. And I mean, there are lots of strategies, lots of tactics you can try, obviously, but the best method by far And if you study like successful founders, it's, I don't know the percentage, but it's very, very high. It's really just solving a problem you are deeply familiar with because it's one you have yourself. Right. And if, yes, you can succeed if you're doing something different, but it's so hard. And I'm not seeing many people succeeding that way, honestly. It's very rare if you study like not just indie maker, but also like all kinds of entrepreneurial success stories. It usually boils down to this. And you can theorize all day long. But yeah, you have a huge advantage if you're solving your own problem all day long, because you can iterate so much faster. You don't have to wait for a customer to agree for an interview, but because you actually, if you're using the product yourself every day or whatever, yeah, it's an unfair advantage. And the only problem with this is that most people, or a lot of people, don't encounter interesting problems worth solving in the beginning, kind of, right? This is where a lot of people get stuck. And the only answer I have for that is really just to do something, right? It doesn't matter, right? Just execute the most stupid idea, whatever is on your list, because it doesn't matter. And it's really just this process, because, I mean, as soon as you start moving, and I know that you know that's true, Ayush, right? As soon as you start moving, you start noticing these problems like people with money have, because suddenly you are an entrepreneur and you start thinking entrepreneurial, and you have a lot more interesting problems that other business owners probably have. And then if you start solving the problems, you notice while you execute your shitty idea, you actually have good ideas, right? And I mean, just pick some go to indie hackers, find a project or whatever that makes money, copy it. It will not work, doesn't matter, right? And then solve a problem you encounter along the way. And there are so many opportunities that open up if you do this.
Yes. No, that's so important. I love like action bias. You know, just take action, and once you start moving, you get out of your head and you actually start doing stuff. And like you put more buy buttons on the internet, like you'll realize the problems that people are facing, right? Because when you go out and promote those buy buttons, you'll realize that why they're not, like, why are people not buying this? You know, but if you only think in your head, then you'll never be able to get there. Right. So this brings me to again just watching trends, right? Reddit trends or Google trends. How important is that? Should I be doing that a lot, or should I not be doing that? Should I be doing that like initially when I'm looking for a new idea? How does that work, and how important is watching, being aware of the new trends that are going on? There's the whole NFT boom that happened, and then the bust that happened, right? How do we go about catching on to these new trends, viral trends that are going
on? So my honest answer is, I mean, if you are the kind of person that can jump on these hype trains with genuine enthusiasm, it's amazing. Do it. Right? You see it like because it's a lot easier, but I simply can't, because I'm very skeptical by nature, and I don't know. But if you study a lot of successful people, you notice this. They are able to leave all the nagging thoughts, whatever, all the skepticism behind, and just jump on it. Yes, people will call them opportunistic and whatever, but they don't care, right? They just jump on the hype train and ride it until it crashes, and then they hold on to the next thing. And I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, to be honest. It's just that I can't. I really wish I would be able, and I also kind of want to get better at it, but it's not working for me. And it's funny because I've seen the same pattern in physics and academia, actually, because like the story is that there hasn't been really any major progress in like 50 years, but still like people need to publish papers and do something, right? And so what happens is that whenever there is like a statistical fluke in one of the detectors, right? Like it's all measured like in sigma, in standard deviations. It's kind of a measure of how probable it is that this is real, right? This is not just a statistical fluke, but real. And then you have like these 3 sigma deviations in accelerator experiments, and like everyone knows this is not real, right? It's not real. But the people that are actually winning the game in academia are the ones that say, no, this is real. I'm gonna take it seriously, and I'm gonna publish 7 papers on this thing. And they churn out 7 papers before like the statistical fluke is gone again. And like there's a whole group of people who are just doing that, and like everyone is citing everyone else inside this world, hyping it up, and then they have like lots of citations, and a few years later no one cares, because obviously it wasn't real, but they win the game. Whereas people who are skeptical and just think, no, that's probably not real, they don't publish papers, they don't get cited. And I mean, it's the same on Twitter. I mean, quite a few people I've seen who just jumped hardcore, and like people I'm friends with, right? They had like 2,000 followers, and now they have 100,000 followers, simply because they hopped on the NFT hype train, and they completely built their career from scratch just doing that. I mean, kudos to them, amazing. I mean,
I think like Jack Butcher's example comes to mind, where all of 2021, I think he was around visualized value. That's what he talked about. And then suddenly it became about NFTs and ownership, and owning a JPEG became like the biggest thing in the world. And that probably worked for him, but for all his followers, it might not have actually worked out, because that's what happens in these viral trends, that a few people at the top end up making a lot of wins and like progressing, finding a lot of success, and the people at the bottom just bottom out, literally, right? So we're almost out of time. I have like one final question that I wanted to ask. So I during the onboarding, I asked people to enter questions that they wanted to ask. Somebody said, I just love Jacob's essays. They didn't ask a question, and I was like, yes, that's true, right? I love Jacob's essays. What is your writing process? How do you write stuff that is so hard hitting and still so relevant? When I try to write stuff, I feel like what I'm writing is not going to be valuable to anybody else. And then I just stop writing, and I move on to something more actionable, more simple, and I know you have an essay called Write Raw, probably that's what it's titled. But what is your writing process, and how do you write and publish content that is so high quality?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one big secret is that everyone is overcomplicating it. And I mean, this is true like in any industry. Like there is a whole industry of people who are overcomplicating it to profit. They are selling expensive courses and cohort courses, thousands of dollars, charging them, promising, teaching you how to write and whatever. But I honestly think it's a scam, all of it. And there is only one thing that matters when it comes to writing, and that is actually having something interesting to say. And yes, I mean, one thing that is true is that if you are an amazing writer, you can write about anything and it will be great. Like David Foster Wallace and whatever, they can write about an apple or a tennis match, and it's amazing. But this is not like what we are talking about here. And at the other side of the spectrum, if you have like the most incredible story, you can be the worst writer in the world and people will still read and love it. Right? If you have to really just a really interesting insight, learned like really an earned insight from your own experience that you feel like I absolutely have to share it, right? I'm not writing for the sake of writing. I really discovered something and I want others to know about it. Then all the rest doesn't matter. Like grammar, spelling mistakes, whatever, it simply doesn't matter as long as you have something interesting to say. That's the only thing.
Yes. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks. That is something, that is advice that I have to take and start publishing more good, more stuff, that interesting insights from myself, and like not think about what people will think from it or not. Yeah. Right. Thank you. And anyone has any questions they want to ask or from Jacob? We have like a couple of minutes. You can ask, or we can wrap up. Right. I'll just go through the chat once and see if I've missed something. I think we have almost addressed everything. Yeah. Okay. 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 Jill's question about evening reviews once. Okay. Yes. Right. So one thing is we want to learn about your service. So how are you doing it? The tweets on demand. You have like an AI system that writing tweets for you, because I saw that it was like $49 for 100 tweets. That's a lot. Right. How do you do this? That's like a steal. I saw that tweet and everyone's like, this is a steal. Right. How are you build? How are you actually pulling it off?
Yeah, the one big thing again is that it's not fully automated, and this is why it's working really well, I think. And it's the one big mistake people make with AI tools. And for example, my friend Ryan Doyle tried to build this first line writer for emails, right? For cold emails, if you're sending cold emails and automatically generate like the first lines. And a lot of people are doing it, and and none of them are working, because there are so many edge cases. And so just even if just in 2 of 100 cases the output will be garbage, it still means you have to manually review it. And then if you have to manually review it, it's just easier to do it yourself, in my opinion. It's just a lot of work. So the right way to use these AI tools is always with a combination of human work, with a human in the loop, really. Yeah, this is my approach, really just 10xing use human output using these AI tools instead of trying to automate it completely, which is ultimately not possible with the current tools, I think. And yeah, just to address like Jill's question about the evening debrief.
Yeah, the evening debrief. Yes, please.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm always experimenting with how I structure my day, and I really like this idea of having like these 90-minute chunks. Like I divide my day in these 90-minute chunks, and then like giving them a theme. And like I said, like the first 2 90-minute chunks every day, like the theme is telling, right? And then I have build and I have write, and then I have debrief like in the evening. It's just one of them. And I mean, there are 2 parts to it. One is really just cleaning everything up. And I mean, it's kind of silly, but totally works. It's like making your bed in the morning. The same is true. Just cleaning everything up in the evening is amazing and underappreciated. And this really means for me closing every single tab. Right? I love that, because it's really all about closing these open loops, and also like cleaning your desktop completely. Right? It's tiny things, but they really make a difference for me. And the second part of it is really reflecting on the day. And I've read this one book. I think it's called 100 Wins or something. I forgot, but it's really just one idea that I got from it, and it's amazing. It's just to write down one win every day. And I've tried a lot of prompts kind of to debrief in the evening, but this is now it. I really just try to write down one win every day in the evening. And yeah, it really helps just to like end the day on a high note, kind of, because it's you probably know that, right? If you're working for yourself, it can be very frustrating. It feels like you didn't accomplish anything. And then often when I start like writing a win, I quickly write down 5 wins. And this is, yeah, it puts me in a positive mood. But you can also then at the end of the week, or whenever you feel down, I can click on my wins tab and tag and just see all the wins, right? And then you no longer feel like, oh, what I did actually do, but okay, a lot of really cool stuff happened this week, and I just like that. It works for me at least.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and I should start doing that, because at the end of the day, you don't know like when should you end your day, right? As a solopreneur working for yourself, like it's like, sure, I can get this like one more thing done, or you feel like you haven't done anything at all, like where did the whole day go? And so the closing the tabs thing is fantastic, and then just noting down a win. It can be very important for motivation as well. When the bad days, like you can go back and look at the wins. And I should definitely do it. Thank you, Jacob. Thanks everyone for being here. This is for really really fun conversation, and thanks, Jacob. See you all like next time with somebody else. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, really fun.
Bye.
Thanks for organizing this.
Sure. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.